Attorney General has been saying she's for universal early childhood education, and then she says she's against universal early childhood education, and she's for dealing with the waiting list. At some point, she needs to make clear to the voters which it is. Is it universal early childhood education, which I absolutely believe Steve Grossman and Don Berwick during the primary thought she was talking about, which is a $1.3 billion program with a price tag that needs to be paid for somehow. If what she's really talking about is what she's been talking about since we got into the general election, which is dealing with the waiting list and making targeted investments in early childhood education, then her position and mine are not any different. But my position on this has been consistent from the very beginning of this campaign. And I continue to be amazed at how, depending upon which audience she's in front of, she decides to change her position on this issue. I think it's time for her to come clean. Does she want a $1 billion universal early childhood education program, or does she want to do the waiting list and make a targeted investment in it, as I have discussed since I got into this race in the beginning?
You seemed a little hesitant on requiring gun companies to provide information, internal information. Where was that hesitancy?
No, I'm very interested in working with mayors and other folks in law enforcement. I think that's a really interesting idea on those issues. I just wanted to make the point that we have just passed a major new piece of legislation on gun safety, and one of the big pieces of that, in my opinion, is this whole issue around dealing with illegal trafficking, which is a huge issue in neighborhoods across the Commonwealth, especially urban communities, and I just don't want that to get lost. I mean, for years and years, people have talked about doing something about illegal gun trafficking and haven't, and I think it's time that, you know, as governor, that's going to be a very high priority for me, and it's going to be something I'm going to want to go after and go after hard, and I'm going to want all the players involved in that conversation, including the manufacturers.
Well, I'm not sure he has a position on it. I've said I would commit $150 million for 17,000 kids right now for whom we have capacity to get off the wait list. Obviously, the goal is universal pre-K. We already have a delivery system, and many people can afford it and do provide for it. And so working towards that goal, making sure every kid has access to universal education, and starting with the 17,000 on the wait list, that's been always what my position has been through the primary and now. And that's where it is a big difference, because when you push him on that, he'll say, well, I don't know if it's that important or that effective, is what he said. It's a real difference on early education, supporting education. I actually heard something new from Charlie Baker today. He said the 3 things I said I would do when I came in, and he mentioned education. I've watched his TV ads. Those aren't the 3 things that he says are important. And I'm the one who's willing to invest in that. I see it as a key piece of an economic development plan where we know right now we have jobs that have gone unfilled and we have people who are unemployed. That says to me that as we see growth here and we know that we need job skills, including science, technology, engineering, math, art, music is important too, giving people those skills to fill those jobs is the way we turn this economy around. I'm willing to invest in that, and he isn't. And so let's just be clear what our positions are. I think they're stark in so many areas. Earned sick time. His plan would leave 1.2 million people without any earned sick time. So I am always going to stand up for people. Charlie always starts with the bottom line and the corporations he's going to help. That's his plan, to give corporate tax cuts and hope it trickles down. It's an old, tired Republican playbook. And I think the questions we got asked today and the discussions we had today, even our closings, demonstrated who I stand up for, who I work for, who I'm always going to work for as governor, and what his priorities are. They are for businesses, they are for balancing the budget, regardless of what the impact is on people who lost jobs, people who need services. He has a history both as a public servant and as someone who worked for Harvard Pilgrim Health. So I welcome the debates, I welcome this discussion. I want voters to see what that clear choice is, and they're going to get to make it in about 9 days.